Welcome back everyone, this is J7Jace bringing you some early game job builds that you would probably unlock at this point in the game, and builds that can be viable for use in Chapter 1. Of course, I'm going to start off with the ones I recommend most, give some tips on what to look out for, and lastly, don't worry, as all of these won't be too grind intensive and can also be used on Ramza as well. Now I've said this in the past, but the best 3 jobs for use here are monks, black mages, and knights. They do excellent damage in most cases and are relatively easy to unlock. I also recommend male characters for any physical damage dealer, as they will have more physical attack and HP than their female counterparts. If any of your generics have higher bravery, like high 60s and more, even better. It's great as this will also increase the success rate of nearly all reaction abilities. Think of it as a percentage. It also benefits monks even more, as their unarmed damage is also affected by how high their bravery is. For females, I recommend them as magic users as they have superior MA and MP compared to males. If possible, look for one with a higher fate stat, so their magic will be a lot more effective. Just note that they will also take increased damage to most magic attacks too. In nearly all cases, you will probably unlock the knight first, as this requires a level 2 squire. But before that, I also recommend getting JP boost, move +1, and if you want to grind a little bit more, focus from squire. Spending some time in chemist to get auto potion for your reaction ability, along with potion and phoenix down, works well, and it's probably your best secondary. Your support ability that I recommend is concentration from the archer, as it will work around evasion and ensure your attacks will land 100% of the time, or just use JP boost. And for your equipment, for your weapon, shield, and heavy armor, whatever is the most expensive at the shop at this point in the game is best for you. But for your accessory, I recommend battle boots for that extra move, as knights need to be up close in order to deal damage. Your build setup should look something like this. I chose this male generic as his bravery is solid and his faith isn't too high, so he can take a bit more damage from black mages. And this build is more than good enough to handle some of the tougher storyline and random battles. You can also sub items with fundaments and use focus during your downtime to do even more damage once you're up close. If you want something that is a bit better, a monk is a superior choice. Just make sure your character's bravery is on the higher side for better results. On War of the Lions, this requires Knight level 3, and in the PS1, Knight level 2. In most cases, they will be doing more damage, and their abilities are just better in more situations. For example, things like Aura Blast, Chakra, and Shockwave are a lot more versatile, and abilities I do recommend learning first. Their one extra jump stat makes them more mobile, and their extra speed comes in handy. This build here is more than adequate and isn't too grind intensive. Fundaments with focus and items with phoenix down for your secondary abilities, auto potion or counter for your reaction abilities, JP boost or concentration, but if you're a bit more daring, get attack boost from Geomancer. And lastly, move +1 or go with life font. If using a life font, I recommend getting Aura Blast and Shockwave to attack from a distance. And for your equipment, the best clothing you can get at the shop and battle boots for mobility, as the monk base move is 3. Before I get into the inferior jobs and builds, arguably the most destructive thing in Chapter 1 is a female black mage with high faith, especially if you can get your hands on one that is a Pisces. I recommend learning a tier 2 magic spell like Thundara or Bolt 2 and pairing it with an elemental rod from the shop to amplify its damage even further. Give them a robe, so silk or hempen robe, and a mantle or battle boots, as we have range. And for the abilities, for your secondary, you can use a variety of things. Martial arts with chakra to restore their MP is great. Items, of course, with phoenix downs and potions. White magic with cure and raise, and time magic with haste and slow aren't bad choices. But I prefer martial arts or items, but it's ultimately up to you. Since I keep on saying auto potion, I'm going to recommend parry from the knight, as the black mage rods have a block rate of 20. I find it failing me more often than not because I have bad RNG most of the time, but if you're lucky, it's pretty good. Then for your support ability, go with the equip shield to further boost evasion. One of my members and Patreon supporters, Black Cat, suggested this one to me a while back, so here is a shout out to him. However, the best support ability at this point is Arcane Strength to increase magic damage by around 33%. If not, just use JP Boost. Then go with Move Plus 1 as your movement ability. So your builds can look something like this. Honestly, some of these abilities are a bit overkill because the Black Mage's damage is just insane, but these are just to really ensure victory. These 3 jobs are the best at this point if you want something to do strong damage to help you with the more difficult battles, but if you want to use the other jobs, I have something for you. The Squire, if you insist on using one, can be decent enough if you give them focus and items along with Move Plus 1 and Battle Boots to take advantage of their mobility. While I suggest a Mithril Sword over the Battle Axe for its more consistent damage, the axe can provide solid numbers if lucky. Because clothing and hats don't provide as many perks quite yet, giving them heavy armor from the Knight and counter from Monk can make them a pretty good frontline fighter. Just ideally use someone with lower faith. Ramza can excel as his Squire as he has better stats and has access to Tailwind, just note he can't equip axes. Chemists aren't that bad of a choice at this point, although their offensive options are rather weak, as you can't use guns quite yet. But learning High Potion and Phoenix Down is more than good enough with their built-in throw items. Just equip them with the best clothing, hats, and battle boots at the shop, and it's more than good enough, and in battle, try not to bring them up close to enemy knights. For archers, you need a level 2 Squire to unlock it, and here's the build I like to use. Fundaments with focus as your secondary, auto potion, concentration, and move plus 1 or jump plus 1 at Fort Siegden. Then a silver bow, the best clothing you can get, and battle boots. Use focus to increase your PA, and then attack from a distance. White mages can be unlocked by having a level 2 chemist. They have a slight edge over black mages because of their faster speed, beating them to the cast, although they will have less MA. I like using them both as a support, so grab magic like Cure, Protect, Shell, and Raise. And to be a damage dealer, use Black Magic as their secondary, although Martial Arts with Chakra isn't bad to restore MP. You can also use Parry and equip Shield to help them evade, although the Black Mage will be slightly better with their rods, at this point having 5% more block. But if you want to put in slightly more time to the grind, Auto Potion and Arcane Strength are superior. Lastly, Move plus 1 for your movement ability. Time Mage is unlocked by having a level 2 Wizard in the original Final Fantasy Tactics and a level 3 Black Mage in War of the Lions. I use them for their haste and slow magic as it makes a difference in battle, and I usually pair them with white magic, although black magic is another solid choice. Then I like Auto Potion, any support ability I'm using, so JP Boost as a placeholder here, and Move plus 1. To unlock the Thief, you need a level 2 Archer in the PS1 and a level 3 Archer in War of the Lions. I don't like using Thieves all that much at this point, but getting a lucky Steel Heart can really help turn the tide in battle, or even a steel weapon, but it's just not consistent enough for me. Because they are faster than others and have lower than normal HP, I highly recommend Auto Potion and a lower Faith stat. Just in case they die, their death timer will count down faster, so make sure you have someone with a reliable revive like Phoenix Down. Or you could just grab Move plus 2 and change out of the Thief. I'm not a huge fan of them because monks actually have a higher steal percentage due to Brawler, and Thief damage isn't great. But like I've said, it's a single player game, so play how you want. Now finally, for the last job you would probably unlock in Chapter 1 is the Geomancer. It requires a level 3 monk in the PS1 and a level 4 monk in War of the Lions to unlock. I eventually recommend learning all the elemental abilities, however, Tanglevine, Sinkhole, and Contortion are the most common. Learning Snowstorm is extremely useful at Fort Siegden. I don't recommend equipping axes as they are far too inconsistent, so my choice is a Mithril Sword and Bronze Shield at the shop. Then equip a Red Hood, Ring Mail, and Battle Boots. For your abilities, Geomancer is solid with a variety of secondaries because of their overall decent stats, so Fundaments with Focus is what I like using nowadays, as it will also power up the damage from Geomancy. Then I'd like Nature's Wrath, then Attack Boost or Arcane Strength, and finally Move +1. These are all the jobs you will probably unlock in Chapter 1, and here are builds that can help you get through some of the harder battles here. In the future, I do plan to return to make some really overpowered builds at this point in the game, but I wanted to show more minimal and bare bones approaches as I usually just make ultimate builds for each character. That is all for this video. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time with more FFT videos. Take care.